Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me, Danae, and I'm here with a message for you. Happy Tuesday. It's February 24th, 2025, 10:28 on the clock as we speak. Just gonna cut a little bit and get right into it. Okay. Hope you're doing well. Man, can't believe it's Tuesday already, but I hope the week has been off to a productive start, a safe start for those that have experienced snow. We did get hit a bit, but definitely nothing like it was last time, and it's already pretty clear where I am. Like, not necessarily on the ground, but on the streets and on the roads, it's not too bad at all from what I can see and where I've traveled. And it was really soft to shovel, thankfully, not as dense as the last time. So I don't know, something about like, when, like, for instance, this may be the channeled message of which I didn't plan for, but I'm hearing something. Last time when I shoveled the snow, it was so heavy, it was literally backbreaking. I got it done, but it was hard. And there was a lot more to maneuver around and to get out of the way in order to kind of, make a good path to get out of your spot. This time, I was kind of geared up for that because it looked just as thick on site when I was seeing it. And I was like, oh man, all right, here we go. But once I got out there, all pretty much amped up on the muscle memory that I had built up from the last time. Hear me. I, as I'm pushing the snow, I'm realizing, oh, this is light. This is cool. This about to be a cakewalk, And people were coming by asking if they could help, some for free, just being chivalrous, some with charge, which either one would have been welcomed last time around. But this time, I was even telling my son, I was like, it was kind of satisfying to shovel the snow out because it was so light and so easy to maneuver. It kind of felt a little bit fun in a weird way. But anyways, it's something about that, like how you have built a muscle mass or muscle memory for something to be particularly challenging or hard or heavy, only to find out that when you engage it at a different time, or again, this being only a couple weeks since the last storm, you realize that either it's not as heavy or as hard as you anticipated based on your experience, or perhaps you have grown in your strength in such a great deal that it doesn't feel as heavy. Now, I can tell you from my experience that the first is absolutely true. It was really a much lighter snow. But both can be true depending on where you are geographically and or energetically or spiritually. So, take that as you will, especially as we are literally at the threshold of the cosmic new year. You might even already be visited or there might even be like a preview, or not a preview, but like a proposition in some way of you facing a challenge that seems familiar or looks familiar on site, like, oh, not this again, or oh, we gotta do this. Is this really what it is? Take heart that is not going to be what you are geared up for. If anything, challenging or stressful at all. As I said, I was satisfied in my shoveling, and or, as I also said, you're built for this. You have the strength, you have the capacity to handle anything that would arise, particularly in this new season that we're on our way into. All right, so I'm gonna leave that there. That was kind of impromptu, but must be purposeful to say in some way, shape, or form. All right, 10:33 on the clock. Let's see what we got here today. Seven of Wands. That definitely speaks to a resistance or a grounding, a steadiness, and where you in a position or a point of view. Interesting, because it kind of looks like a heave ho type of, like maybe he's shoveling. Obviously, that's not a shovel, but it could be. It could be. So let's Hangman to let's see. Maybe being content to just be still in this moment. Like I said, to hold your ground, to hold your position, to affirm yourself, perhaps as there may be an anticipation for some clarity or enlightenment here, like some clear direction or revelation, fresh perspective. It feels like a bit of a limbo state energetically. Even my own personal experience, it's like there's only so much you can really do right now that will significantly advance your position materially or physically. It's really it's really a be still and know type of energy that's happening in this moment. Like, to be clear that the work you've already done is opening up pathways and opportunities and fresh perspectives that is not a matter of like reworking, your intentions or ambitions. It's really about gleaning in the posture of reception for what's already taken place or what's already been invested at this point in time. Literally, work that's already been done to perhaps manifest, call in, or prepare for some heightened sense of enlightenment or understanding. Oh, wow, I'm taking all these. Wow, look at this. The Ace of Swords. Wow, the World and the Sun. Yeah, it's already done. That's what I'm hearing. It's already done. And trust me, I know how challenging it feels to be still in a posture of it's already done. Especially when you got hella things coming at you, maybe even provocations to do something else or to sway you in a direction or provoke you to feel like there's some adjustment or change or reaction or response that you should be you should be in submission to, when the reality is that things are happening. The things that are happening, again, the World card being a close of a past cycle, and then something quite promising on the horizon. This has been on account of work that's already been invested, whether it's been in your personal life, your professional life, in your relationships, hell, and within yourself. It's this spirit of truth here with the ace with the Ace of Swords. It feels to me like the only confirmation to move or activate or initiate something new that's needed. These little wands here, these little prods and pokes and, again, provocations, feel more like a distraction, or more like, like energy that wants to provoke you to do something out of character, or to do something out of turn, or something perhaps even unproductive, maybe even impulsive, or what's the other word I just heard? Impulsive, or like self-sabotaging. Yeah, that to me appears to be something that goes against the grain of everything that you've been preparing and working for to this point. It's like being at that threshold of some new turnover or new experience or opportunity or new season, new era, even here with the world and the sun, something fresh. But you're standing there and it's like, oh shoot, do I have everything I need? Do I need to go back? Do I need to? Yeah, that's what I'm getting. That's weird. Like almost having this nudge or urge to feel like you got to go back for something. That could be mentally, physically, spiritually, that could emotionally, even relationally, to feel like you got to go back and rekindle relationships or retrieve or bring some type of settlement or closure to something that's already is being closed or be that's coming to an end with or without your help. You know what I mean? But I got that, like something where it's like you're on your way out the door, and suddenly, or at a door or whatever, and suddenly you get this urge, like you feel that sense of like, did I forget something? Do I have everything I need? That nagging urge. But it's like, no, everything you need is here. You're here, a whole in one piece. You could even be considerate if you're particularly in anticipation or waiting for something, about what missteps you may have made. Like, oh, did I do something wrong? Should I have done this differently, or could I have done something? You start going through those insecurities, and that's what these energies are provoking. It could be internal, it could be external, it could be projections. But that's what it's given, like wanting to make you feel like there must be something that is off if you're not feeling that total, that blessed assurance, that rested assurance that I'm good right here, right now, which is hard to maintain no matter what, whether you're at the top of a season, the middle of a season, but especially when you're at that point where everything is looking brand new, or at least everything that was familiar is not so much anymore. It doesn't feel like you can go backwards, but you don't absolutely know what forward looks like yet either. That's a strange place to be in, and that's where you have to settle yourself again, and continue to reaffirm yourself, if you can't get it nowhere else, of the evidences of trust. And that's the only aspect of reflection that is helpful all the times when you may have been here before, but you have every reason reflectively to maintain that posture of trust and receptivity, openness even. And also within that, being open to it working out in the best case scenario, even if, it doesn't necessarily give that on site. you know, I don't know. I feel like there's something deeper I should be saying on that. Yeah, being open to have it. That was a term that I had learned in momentum education. It was like a personal development program that I did in New York years ago, before I was even a mom, which was pivotal, because it was kind of right before I became a mom, not long after. But I got a lot of tools there, and one of the things that I remember was being open to having it all turn out, which really is about not being so fixated on how or when or where or who, but just holding your intention and allowing for universal order to align with that intention. Also in co-creativity with the actions you feel guided to take, of course, but not being so like so stubborn about what gets you to that ultimate ending, which again is another challenge of human capacity that I could definitely attest to for sure. Because you may see a thing, you may see one pathway for how something is supposed to turn out, and the the core of your being is trusting and believing and faithful that whatever it is, it will. But sometimes, like, that resistance can be when you feel like you have it figured out as to how that's supposed to happen, and maybe even when that's supposed to happen. um, and that may be the piece that's out of alignment, particularly for your highest good, because usually when the divine God creator, um, universe has a different idea in mind, it's 9 times out of 10 for a purpose that's better than what you would have planned out if it were left up to you, you know? So it's like the co-creativity is us holding the intention, holding the capacity to believe and be faithful with, you know, the work, or, you know, whatever the work or whatever the ambition that is aligned with that may be. That's our job as human vessels and the spiritual expression, um, to hold that intention still alive. It's like such a strange balance, because as you hold that intention, you're still having to be submissive to the best possible outcome. And sometimes that part, you know, the in between from the intention to the execution, or the materialization, is that waiting spot space that is uncomfortable, to say the least, at times. Judgment, but oh my God, what I say? I said it's already done, though. My goodness. So we got the world and judgment here. And judgment really is, wow, so it's 1920, this is 21. So it's out of order a little bit, but it's like the judgment, what's unknown is the decision that is meant to unfold on account in the reality of this new cycle or new era or season that is underway. We're not quite in it yet. We're still transitioning, but there's already decisions, proclamations, determinations, appointments, I hear anointings, you know, spaces that have been carved out, paths that have been cleared. It's already been done, but it's just the patience and allowance for it to unfold, you know, and the timing that is designated to do so. But the sun, I love being here at the center of it all, because that's the most optimistic and promising card you could possibly pull in the deck. Sandwiched here between two points of endings and beginnings. I was going to get one more, but I'm going to leave that judgment there. I'm going to let that marinate there. What else about this judgment card? Now I got the hiccups. Yeah, heavy on that appointment. A determination, a designation, divine even choosing. I'm hearing that it's beneficiaries of blessings, especially with the sun here, because that's bliss personified in a card or exemplified in a card. And maybe that is the appointment, you know, of divine's chosen conductors of said bliss, like those that have been chosen in this time or are about to be exalted, maybe even put on display in a way that you may not even be prepared for. So you might want to spend your energy, honestly, like really appreciating and reveling in this season of stillness and the season of, for some, maybe even what's the word? Not secrecy, but you're not really put on blast right now. You a lack of exposure, not overexposed. Solitude, thank you. Solitude, the season of solitude, like the quiet, the calm before the storm, in a sense, where you're gonna appreciate that. There's a quote. I'm not sure exactly how it goes, but I've seen it like at the end of people's emails, particularly, that says something about like really when it's all said and done, like you realize that the beauty was in the struggle, or the appreciation was in the struggle. Because once you realize the thing that you feel you've been working for or even waiting for, it doesn't have the savor that it does when you're actually not quite, or maybe the savor doesn't linger or last as long as when you were actually in pursuit of the thing, or ambitious for the goal. Because once you achieve it, then our human minds and consciousness are already thoughtful about what's next, or at least how you can maintain what you've achieved, which can be just as much of a challenge as what's next, or expand upon it. So it's like when you look back, it's the time when you were moving on up, or grinding, or hustling, or planning, and the time when you were just doing what you love, not really not having to be too thoughtful about what people think about it, or if people see it or don't, and then all of a sudden you could hit a spotlight era where now you may even be in demand for what you do. You may be on display for how you do a thing, or who you are, and it be something that wasn't necessarily orchestrated by you. Because when the divine chooses to put you on display, baby, ain't nothing you can really do to refute that or stop it. You can choose to sabotage it in front of uh and as you're in front of spectators, I suppose, or observers. But the pride in you usually wouldn't want to. So it makes you that much more conscious, and sometimes even over ambitious to maintain your achievement or positioning, than it did before, when you didn't have to worry about the judgment of it all, internally or externally. So it's something about really appreciating this moment of transition in the ways that we only look back in hindsight usually and do so. Like we look back and say like, oh man, that was such a simpler time. Or case in point, when I was as I mentioned in momentum education, I was so ambitious in that time of my life. I was so determined to just manifest every single vision I had ever, and every single vision that I had ever thought of, that I was doing everything. And also the inspiration from the personal development was giving me the tools that I had never really had before or never utilized, even awakening things inside of me that I hadn't really appreciated before. And so I had so much activation and initiation during that time that really, like, I was over ambitious. Um, so much so that when I became a mom, the main thing that I was nervous about is that momentum stopping, and not being able um, to really like hustle and chase the dream the way that I wanted to. And of course, I didn't have that liberty, or that, not as much as I did, because I had a different assignment, a different agenda at hand, thankfully. Um, because I could go off the rails here. Maybe I will, because I don't think I'm going to pull any more cards actually. Um, when I look back at it, that time was so sweet because I didn't have any other responsibility or obligation to anything or anyone really but myself. And you know what was significant about my ambition to thrive in that time was that I did absorb a lot of what I would ultimately need to transfer into my season of new motherhood. I thought I was gathering the necessary arsenal and tools and such for my creative professional life. And really it was for my domestic life, you know. And in hindsight, I couldn't have known that because I didn't plan to become a mom when I did. And maybe now, at the afterwards, and even now, having that much more, 10 years in to being a mom, I look back at that time when I was so free, but over ambitious, and so hard on myself about what materialized from my efforts and what didn't. If somebody could have told me that it wasn't even the season for what I had in mind yet, then maybe I would have really enjoyed the process a little bit more. Maybe I even would have retained so much more of what I learned in real time, even if it was to tuck away for such a time as this, where this is a season where I'm far more um, I'm looking forward to being far more ambitious in those same desires. Well, I am. Certain seeds have already been planted. Some have already broken through, and that now 10 years, 11, maybe 12 years later, I'm able to pull those tools out of the toolkit, as well as the things that I've learned from being a mom. And it turns out that all of it is needed and was necessary for my ultimate success at this point. And heck, maybe there's still yet another um, cycle that, so it's like it's on and on and on. I guess the whole point of it all is just to be present, because you can't get this moment back. I can't go back to that carefree time that was really, so liberating back then. I can't go back to that with the mindset that I have now, with the insight that I have now. It just has to be appreciated for what it was. So if I can take that hindsight reflection and transport it, even translate it into this present moment, those are the things that help you to stand your ground, and maybe even refocus or realign, maybe ground, in a sense that you don't have to look back now 10 years later and say, man, I sure wish I would have just relaxed. I sure wish I would have trusted more. I sure wish I would have made more space for the unfolding, as opposed to trying to like manhandle things my way. But it comes with time, it comes with maturity, evolution, experience, all of that. But if there's anything, worth reflecting on from the past time, it's perhaps maybe even, like I said, the lesson just from last season, where you realized you didn't have to be so hard on yourself, or maybe you didn't have to work so hard to feel, to obtain that sense of, what's the word I just heard? Effectiveness, and that's not the word. Impactfulness, yeah. Like when you don't when you want to feel like you're making a difference and an impact, and you are well aligned with the trajectory that the divine has in mind, so that you can be your most productive and prosperous self. Maybe it's a little bit more heavier on the smart work and lighter on the hard, if that makes sense. Because as I said, this is happening. This train can't be stopped. This train can't be stopped. The prophecy on your life, the plans for your existence, as the Bible says, like, I know the plans for you. I know the plans that I have for you, plans to I know that scripture. Hold on. That's one of them ones that you should never forget. Was it Jeremiah? Hold on. I think it is 2:11 or something. I know the plans here. Plans to prosper. I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. 29:11, Jeremiah 29:11. Yeah. And that's it right here. Like, whatever gets you there is just the vehicle. But for sure, for certain, this is a happy ending. This is a positive ending that you get to look forward to. I'm gonna leave that there. Yep, I sure am. Eight of Cups. Ooh, with the Ace. Lord have mercy. That's just a skip. Ooh, I just got chills. That's a skip of progression. Like, we ain't just going from the 8 to the 9, which is the usual order of this card. What's that under there? Ooh, the King of Pentacles. That's nice to know. We love that. Yes, and there's the prosperity right there. Plans to prosper you, to give you a future and a hope. That's the intention of the divine. Always, always, always. And sometimes I feel like we overplay our hand or outplay ourselves, trying to, feeling like we got to do more or gear up to be better, be stronger. And I feel like the divine sometimes is just looking like, my poor child. If they would just relax, be still, and know that I am God, things would be so much more satisfying, as I said earlier, where I was geared up for the hard labor, even not looking forward to it, quite honestly. And then here it is, the thing that I thought was going to wear me out was actually quite pleasing in a strange way. So, this literally is that transition of where many things are being disconnected from. There may even be a disassociation, maybe even a relocation in a physical way, perhaps, but maybe emotionally, because it's a lot of cups. Maybe about how you feel about life, how you feel about yourself, how you feel about your presence up until this point, and what that relays to you is the message of the moment. And here it is, the divine just looking to pour out, in an accelerated way, because like I said, the intention here is to go from, the implication here with the 8 is to go to the 9. Here you going to something that can't even be measured by way of the Ace. So you may have your own calculations of the steps in the process. Okay, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, and then this is gonna lead to that, and I'm doing this or I've done this so it can ultimately turn out this way. And that's all great, you know. Your faith and the works that have been aligned with your faith are beautiful, but consider that there's still an extreme or an inflated response and reward that's due to you no matter what, you know. It's in this new season. It's just what's in the cards. It's what's in your fate. So you can wear yourself out trying to earn it or accelerate it in some way, shape, or form. Meanwhile, it's still going to happen when it's supposed to, how it's supposed to, and with all the effort that you're putting in to ensure or assure it be so. It's coming in a way that you couldn't have manifested in your own power by your own will if you had worked twice as hard. So imagine like you get into some culmination of reward or return on your investment, and somebody's like, oh, you ain't have to do all that. You was going to get this anyway, and you're like, all this for me? Like, yeah, oh yeah, this was going to be yours anyway. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your effort. But, if you would have scaled back a little bit or been a bit more graceful with yourself or patient with the process, this was going to happen no matter what. So it's not even a measure of you having to work harder to achieve it. You actually could have worked more easily or postured yourself more easily, and you still would have gotten the same result, nothing less. So imagine somebody whispering that in your ear now before you work yourself to the bone, and have to, look back in hindsight and say, damn, I wished I would have just taken it easy. So that's my offering to you and to myself, because, like I said, it's easier said than done. Maybe we can energetically support each other on that mission. I don't know. Or perhaps we'll never learn. I don't know. But it's not going to stop the divine from doing what it's, intended to do anyway. I almost said since the beginning of time, on an even grander scale. Like this is what's been in alignment for creation, regardless of what we were doing. And it was like you were either going to have to get with it or get lost. So for those that are with it, enjoy this time while you can. Enjoy the so-called struggle or the wait or the interim, the ambiguous or the mystery of it all, because I have a feeling that when this new season does turn over, it's going to invoke a whole new frequency of ambition that you may have to temper all over again. So maybe get your bearings straight right now while you can. All right, so good luck, best wishes, Godspeed, in all you do. And I think that's a testament to the snow aspect, even if you're not somewhere, where that's actively happening to you now, and lucky you. The symbolism of it all is that the snow does slow things down. It does. But it's also a symbol of purification and cleansing. So the slow down, maybe even the stop at the moment is necessary, because some things are still being released in the transition and in the transference of power and prosperity that's underway. you know Purifying that cup, like imagine drinking out of a dirty cup, and God has all of this, to pour into it. You wouldn't want to drink it if there's still debris in it. So that snow piece was more significant than I probably let on, initially. But it's all purposeful is the point. It's all purposeful. All right, so I'll leave that there. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful week. And until next time, as always, I'll leave you with peace.